I was so excited I couldn't even wait to do it the same way that I introduced Amy last time. This is Nikkia Raedawn Young, and she is just amazing, and I know you're going to love her as much as I do. I was fortunate enough to become aware, I wouldn't say meet, because we haven't met in person yet, but I'm hoping that happens the 3 days at the fair. I'm like, please let nothing interrupt those plans whatsoever. I was fortunate enough to become aware of Nikkia when I saw an Instagram post, and I'm very rarely on Instagram, as y'all know, so like it is serendipitous that I saw this at all. But I saw a post of someone who had just finished a marathon sitting on the curb crying. And I'm like, that's not okay. And I started going through and piecing the story together from a couple of influencers that I follow. And I was like, whoa, it made me angry. This is where it all started for me. I've told the story. My husband's told the story. My 6'2", larger than life husband who collapsed as he crossed the finish line at a half marathon. And people are like, could someone get that? Made a reference about his size guy off the finish line. And I was like, you must be. I went MK that day, and I really, somewhere deep inside, I really haven't stopped. So when I heard Nikkia's story, I had already at this point been thinking about what I really wanted fitness protection to be. And I was like, we got to put the back in the pack, front and center. We need to make sure that people like my husband are not overlooked. People like whatever, no one should finish a marathon and then sit down and cry with anything other than like, yay, that happened. And I'm so hungry and I can't get nachos because it's Germany. Maybe that I would be okay, because nachos is what I got to have after a race. And I feel like this sport is doing a lot of people a lot of disservice. The reason that we're able to have prize purses and have big races and have cool stuff is because people like me show up. People like you show up, people like Nikkia show up. So I reached out immediately and was like, I know you don't know me from Adam, but this has been a karmic wrong. I can never make it right, but what I can do is be there representing you if this ever happens again and be like, you messed with the Nikkia, you got the MK. Merry Christmas. And I stand by that. I will do that. I will do that for any one of my clients, and I will absolutely make a point to do that with my sponsored athletes too. So it's been amazing to watch, to work with Nikkia over the past 5 months. And I was very hesitant to ask her, would you like to represent us? Because I just, got to tell you, of all the people that we have in Facebook group, I get so many comments about how lovely you are, and a quote unquote a little ray of sunshine. I think that was my favorite, and I'm like, I mean, it's super. It warms me to hear things like that you came in, and I'm like, here's Nikkia, you just show up, and it's like you've always been there, and people love you, and people were really excited, like, oh, I'm so glad she's sponsored. I'm going. So 3 other people at least let me know that they are coming to 3 days at the fair to run their first marathon, because you're going to be there running your first 50K. So you're already inspiring people. We ain't started yet.
Yeah, and that's really like what I lived by. Like I basically signed up for one of those, like color run 5Ks back in college. And ever since then, it's been like I've been running ever since. And I ran my first 10K here in Richmond. And actually, I ran my first 5K here in Richmond before I even lived here. And after that, I finished my first 6-mile run, and a coach kind of came over to me and was like, you look like you could do 6 more. And I was like, well, maybe I can. And then I signed up I had actually asked a friend of mine to go, hey, we're not getting any younger, so let's go ahead and run like a full marathon. And she goes, yeah, let's do it. And I'm fully expecting her to say absolutely not. And that's how I ended up doing my first marathon. And that was 2015. And I've been kind of rolling ever since. And I've done 23 half marathons, and I've got at least 3 or 4 planned until about June of this year. And I'm actually hoping to coach our local half marathon team here in the fall. So that's kind of my way of hopefully, giving back. And I'm also the president of the Richmond Roadrunners Club, which is a really neat thing to do. It's one of those things where 40 years ago they started a club, and I don't think they ever thought that it would be led by someone that looked like me in more ways than one. But I am completely and ridiculously supported, and I've really kind of won over a lot of those traditional looking runners, your
Yep.
Standard middle-aged old white guy. I really won them over, and it can't help but love me at this point. So
I mean, they would have to. The good thing about the RCA is that they came into existence to combat an organization, the AAU, which was not serving its runners well and was hurting America when it came to the Olympics. So these guys were, the original kind of revolutionaries, and I think it has to be interesting for them that now a revolution is happening that they hadn't really expected to bring about.
Yeah. And I mean, I've talked to so many of the people that started this club when they were, 25 and 27. And they're like, we just thought that it was always going to be, guys running 6, 7, 8-minute miles, like maybe that random slow guy running 9. And so and now they're like, never did we think that, it would be a popular sport like this. And I mean, we have a lot of different groups in Richmond too, which is nice. Like you got your speedsters, your Bostons, you got your kind of middle pace pack. And then we've got a lot of people that are either rehabbing, similar to this group, either they're rehabbing, rebuilding, or they're just trying to maintain that fitness until the next goal comes along, or, the next, hey, we're going to all go to this big trip. Like we went to the Love Run, which is a fantastic race, if you ever get a chance to do it. We took 68 people from Richmond, like this random organized groups. And the next random organized group we ended up, we're actually doing this spring is Run the Bluegrass. We got over 100 people on 2 charter buses, wow. Driving from Richmond to Lexington, Virginia, because we just enjoy each other's company. And so I've been really blessed to kind of land in a place where like I have the backing of a lot of people, but at the same time, it's not the same kind of coaching I'm getting. And it's been really cool to kind of talk to people about it, because in here we train, it's a lot of like Hal Higdon-esque, and there's a lot of overtraining in this town. Most of the written plans, if you sign up for any of the teams, and I'm not saying anything bad about the teams, I'm just saying that if you sign up for any of the teams in town, you're expected to run 5 to 6 days a week, 3 to 5 to 6 to 8, if not more, 10 on a marathon plan. And I just couldn't understand how I was like, I consider myself an intermediate runner. Most people would not. I've been running for quite some time this time, and I'm pretty consistent. So I consider myself an intermediate runner.
And I would absolutely agree with that.
And so it's always funny when people are like, oh, well, you're only doing X amount of miles a week. And I was like, well, no, like I'm getting more out of my miles. I feel better about my training. I've never, and I tell other people they're tempo runs, but they're not really tempo runs because it's just a little bit of tempo. But, I just like, I'm doing more tempo runs and I'm doing this because the people have even noticed today I ran a 15K and people are like, wow, you came in a lot earlier than we thought you would. And it's like, oh yeah, like I'm trying something different. I'm actually looking at my heart rate because I literally used to exist in the 75 to 80 range for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, which is probably not great. I
mean, it's not that it's specifically bad. It's just that, that's a lot of strain and a lot of stress that arguably for no benefit. I mean, it's easy to go hard. It's hard to go smart. I say that a lot, but I feel like a lot of us have been put in that position where we have to prove that we belong. So we have to work twice as hard to get a quarter of the recognition. That does not apply to your body. You don't have to work as hard. You got nothing to prove. Your coach, your love, you're winning at life. I say it over and over. It's like permission to, what do I really need to get if I want to go to Boston? What do I need to do if I want to do X, Y, or Z goal? I'm like, less.
And permission to kind of take the pressure off myself. Cause I feel like, and especially, I mean, I have a very small internet following, but I have enough of a following to where it could be it could cause some anxiety. It can cause some kind of like, oh, I should be better by now kind of thing. And, it's easy to compare yourself to other, which is kind of funny that there's even a market, but to compare yourself to other large Black runners, which, wow, there's a corner of the internet where I actually belong. But it's
like everywhere you want to be.
and that's the thing, is like trying to not give myself the pressure of, well, I've got to beat last time, or I've got to do this. And even, you know, one of the things I really had to work on even a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm going to try and have a PRN attitude. Like, I'm going to finish the race and be happy, or I'm going to finish the race and not just be depleted, or not be upset about, like the last time I ran this particular race, a woman asked me before I even started, oh, well, have you ever run a race before? Like, you get those kind of questions, and it's nice to have a place, even in a little corner on the internet, whether it's in my ambassador groups for, you know, the things that I do, or even on Fitness Protection Maintain, like, to just say, hey, I went out there and I had a good time today. And like, people are like, yes, exactly. Like, they're excited for you to, like, you know, it may have been a struggle, but you're still got people out there cheering for you. And, you know, none of those people have met me, or at least I don't know. I don't think they've met me in person. It happens a lot in Richmond where people walk up to me and know my name, and I don't, especially when you do the typical runner, like visor, sunglasses, random blonde ponytail, like, you could be anybody. It happens a lot. So if you feel free to announce yourself when you meet me, so that I can actually put a face with a name. But I'm really looking forward to 3 days at the fair. I'm going to do 1 day at the fair. And it's probably one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever thought about doing, but I mean, why not?
Oh my gosh. I think of it now, the more I think about it. We have somebody with Crohn's that wants to do 100 miles. And she said to me, I know you're going to say no to this, but I've always wanted to do a 100-miler. And you had me at clean bathrooms every mile. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yes, we've got to get the word out about this. Yes. And then the first time marathoners, they were all worried. They were like, this could take me 8.5 hours. Yep. I can't find a short list of races that where, you know, the further I go, I don't know that I'm going to have support in that town that people would wait for me with water. So this sounds like a great intro marathon. And I'm like, yes. And you can take breaks. It's not like a clock that's running. Every time you pause it, you can restart it. It's kind of beautiful and brilliant like that. It's what it gives you more control over the experience than any other event ever will. Because I know for a lot of overachievers and perfectionists and people who gravitate towards distance running, absolutely feel like, because they're focused on performance, it feels like everything is out of control. It feels like no matter what I do, I'm not getting better. It feels like it's this feeling of hopelessness, where I'm like, yeah, you know, you can just do it your way. We're gonna Meghan Markle it. It's gonna be great.
And honestly, like, I mean, my last race, my last marathon was just not the experience that I would have ever, you know, wanted for even my worst enemies. You know, you can't control the weather. You can't control, like, there's things that you go into a race knowing you can't control, but then knowing that the things that you specifically asked about and checked in on ended up not being, you know, and my family, like, my mom and my sister flew across the world. My mom has rheumatoid arthritis and was on a plane for over 15 hours to see me, unfortunately, sob on a sidewalk. And I will tell anybody this story. So if you do go to 3 days in the fair, I will happily tell you the story about how I met this very nice Japanese gentleman and we survived the race together. But I wish I knew this man's name. He has a photo of me somewhere in Tokyo, but I don't know who this man is. He was really, honestly, probably the only way I survived that race. And he didn't speak very much English, but he said, you and me will be finishers. And he kept saying that, and he kept repeating, faith, fight, win. And I was like, you know what? Like, that's all the English I need right now. So we're just going to survive it. But, you know, it's the weirdest situations happen to me at races. But it was, you know, he was just what I needed to even survive, because making sure that he was okay was also making sure that I was okay. But I just would not recommend, you know, I feel like no one should go into their first marathon, even how I went into my first marathon. My first marathon was the Richmond Marathon in 2015, where I actually went viral for being last. And there's a whole story in that background. But I ran it with a severe sinus infection, would not recommend it. Didn't realize I was still sick.
That's so much work. And that's the thing that like kind of makes me come unglued. I've run a half marathon in under 90 minutes. And I did a half marathon when I was pregnant in almost 4 hours. And like a same half actually. And I swear to you, the 4 hours was more work than any marathon I've ever done, any half I've ever done. The 4 hour half was harder. And not just because I was pregnant, it's the sheer volume of time and the pounding on everything about it was harder. And that's when my attitude towards the back to pack really started to shift. And we really need to be celebrating the people that are tenacious AF. And that's why we named one of our marathon plans Tenacious AF, because you got to be.
And it's a process. I mean, and I wouldn't tell anybody to shy away from it. I would just say, make sure that you're going to a race where you will be celebrated, because it's an effort. Like, I mean, honestly, getting out of bed and going for your morning run is an effort. And I think that more of us need to make sure that you're celebrating the journey, not just the destination. And I think that especially the attitude I'm starting to see. I mean, I had to unfollow Runner's World. I got to this point where I'm like, I can't take this. It's almost toxicity at that point where it's like, okay, you signed up for this race. You either, you trained or you didn't, but you still got to that start line. There's a lot to be said for that. Like, regardless of what level of preparation you're feeling, you got up and you at least thought, well, we're at least going to give it a roll. Like, we're going to give it a shot.
Insinuation ever, and I see this a lot on social media, the people in the back or the people that were longer than 6 hours, longer than the course, than the course timed, like they hadn't trained. And that's just not true. There's so much that can go wrong. So much that can go wrong. And if you're if you're going to be defined by your most recent marathon time, why would once you've had a good day, why would you ever show up again? Like, that's not good for the sport. That's not a good business model. I don't know. I could go on and on about this, but I'm going to have to talk, because I know that Coach Jess, I'm not going to have her for very long. Everybody's going to be seeing so much of Nikkia. You're going to be seeing so much of Nikkia. I am thrilled about that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. And you can meet Nikkia in person if you join us at 3 days at the fair, as well as sponsored athlete number 1, Amy, who just confirmed last night that she's going to be coming too. Woo! So big time. Thanks again. Have a good night.